The green flag is now in the air, signaling that everything is ready for the starting procedure to begin. He surprised everybody and he goes into the race lead. Fantastic start. So, there's a big crash. Around the outside and he takes the second place.
Good afternoon, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are joining us again on the starting grid here in Slovakia. It is time for the final race of the Formula 4 Central European Zone, the penultimate round of the 2025 Championship. And of course, the battle for the title is heating up properly, and maybe even more in this race, because what was once a 64-point lead at the end of yesterday's race got quickly changed with a penalty, with a turnaround, with reverse grids, and now there is a 31-point gap between the championship leader Gino Trapper and second-placed man Max Karhan, both racing for SEZ Motorsport, but both cars now further down the field thanks to reverse grids, etc. And we have got Max Karhan on row number 4 and the championship leader Gino Trapper even on row number 6. It's going to be a long walk before we reach them, but first we're of course going to start on the front row, and it is Maffei Racing with a pole sitter once again today. It is Andreas Lebu, currently on pole position on the right hand side of your screen, right behind me, already claiming his position on the grid, and he will be looking for the best race result of the season today in the afternoon. Alongside him, it is a SEZ Motorsport car, but it is the Mexican driver Javier Herrera. He had bad luck in yesterday's race. He was in contact with his teammate Nicolas Cortes, but today he has a clear view up ahead of himself, and on the front row he can be definitely thinking of a victory here in Slovakia. Theodor Borenstein with the other, one of the other of the 5 cars of a very strong Maffei Racing squad here in P3, and on the other side of row number 2 it is the young German driver Matilda Patz. She had bad luck in the first race today. She got as high up the order as to P4, but however finished on the bottom of the table, presumably after an incident. Bennett Gaspar showed a great performance earlier on today and put even pressure on the championship leader Gino Trapper, overtaking him just across the line to snatch a position from him by less than 1/10 of a second. So watch out for this guy. He's pretty quick and pretty serious about his overtaking. Alongside him, Hadi Mimasi in P6. He was leading the majority of the race earlier on today, however, chewed up through his tires maybe a little too soon and had no pace left to defend the first position from the eventual winner, Kirill Kutskov. So Hadi Mimasi is going to hope for a better luck today. However, he's going to do it from 6th on the grid. Max Karhan, big challenge for him as well. Yesterday starting in 8th, today starting in 7th. And so far it's been a couple of podium places for him, and significant reduction of the championship lead of his teammate Gino Trapper. However, from P7 on the grid, already on used tires like everybody else, it's going to be a bigger challenge than earlier on today. However, let's see what happens in today's race. And we have got Kirill Kutskov, 2 out of 2. He inherited the victory yesterday after penalties. However, earlier on today, he decided to do it all on the road, and he simply left the chance for nobody else. Scored a victory on his return to the series. He did not participate in any of the rounds prior to this one. And so far, once he's back, he's not really let anyone on the tops to the podium, in fact. Simon Schranz, unlucky earlier on today. He got a great getaway, got up to P4 in the race, however, then got tagged with Gino Trapper and ended up on the grass, which sent him further way down the order. And then it is Nicole Haverda in her F1 Academy helmet, and she's here with JMT Racing Team getting ready for race number 3 as well, starting at the bottom of the top 10. František Němec in 11th in the other JMT racing car, and then it is Gino Trapper, the championship leader, all the way here on row number 6. He got quite high up the grid in race number 2 earlier on today. Let's see what he can do in race number 3, and let's see what the championship score is going to be at the end of this weekend, because Gino Trapper entered the weekend with a possibility of already snatching the title here in Slovakia. However, mathematically that is now out of the question, so the question is only about how many points he will have over Max Karhan at the end of today's afternoon. And let's actually see how this question unfolds.
Doble cabeza,
Update on the results from earlier on. Gino Trapper was actually found guilty for the incident with Simon Schranz in the second race of the weekend that was on program earlier on today. And Gino Trapper was then handed a 5-second penalty, which dropped him actually to 8th place in the overall results, which of course even further reduces his championship lead over Max Karhan. So what started as a weekend, as I mentioned, with the potential of clinching the title one event early, is now turning a big gap reduction. Max Karhan from P7 is going to be hoping for further inroads into the lead of his teammate. Andreas Lebu on pole position, alongside him Javier Herrera. Second row, that's Theodor Borenstein. And Matilda Patz. Bennett Gaspar in P5. And alongside him, Hadi Mimasi, Max Karhan with Kirill Kutskov on row number 4, Simon Schranz and Nicole Haverda sharing row number 5. 1 minute left before we are sent and released onto the formation lap. František Němec in 11th from Gino Trapper in 12th again. And then Michalina Sabaj in 13th, Chiara Henny in 14th, Igor Polák 15th, and then Nikolaj Dervet in 16th. From Stefan Trenesky, Nicolas Cortes 18th again, just like earlier on today, and 19th for Křenek Motorsport's David Gorčica. Green flag up in the air. Formation lap begins. Just under 6 kilometers is the distance around 1 lap here in Slovakia. And if my calculations are right, then the penalty for Gino Trappa must mean that the championship difference between him and Max Karhan is currently 25 points, which is exactly what you get for 1 race victory. But for both drivers, it is now an uphill challenge. Each driver gets 2 sets of new tires for the weekend, with which they have to make do in qualifying in all 3 races. And so tactics come into play as to who puts the new set when. Some drivers choosing that moment for the second race earlier on today. Max Karhan actually doing the race on more of a used rubber. Now it should be everyone already on the tires that have already been used previously, so the grip levels aren't going to be as high as up to this point. This is the tighter infield section. Also opportunities for overtaking here, but with rather surprising moves, mainly down the inside. Andreas Lebu will start the race from pole position. Andreas Lebu, so far this season, probably not as successful as he would have been hoping for. Coming into this weekend with less than 40 points, then gaining some and scoring some over the course of this weekend. But so far, his best result of 5th position coming in the first race at SlovakiaRing. So he is yet to stand on the podium. This might be a very good opportunity for him. However, right alongside him, Javier Herrera, 4th in the standings, in front of his teammate Nicolas Cortés and Javier Herrera. Has been on the podium once with a victory in Most in race number 3. Other than that, he has been 4th 3 times and 5th 2 times. Cars now coming back onto the starting grid, assuming their positions in their grid slots. Gino Trappa on the right hand side of your screen, and that's actually already his teammate Nicolas Cortés. And we will get going very soon. So green flag up in the air. Let's go racing for the final time with Formula 4 here in Slovakia. And they're underway. The race has begun with Andreas Lebu starting from pole, already switching over to the inside line, but I believe that Javier Herrera has enjoyed a better getaway and he is immediately moving himself up into the race lead. There is Herrera leading with Simon Schranz attacking around the outside. These are 2 SEZ Motorsport cars. Must be Karhan and also must be Gino Trappa with a great start against his teammate. Lot of dust over the crest after the crash in the earlier GT sprint race. This is one of the SEZ Motorsport cars, but let's focus more towards the front of the field for now, because we have got a battle for the race lead. Javier Herrera under siege from Simon Schranz, and it could well be Matilda Parts having another good start, moving herself up to 3rd for now. That was a great start, and that also must mean that the pole sitter Andreas Lebu has dropped to at least 4th place. Difficult position for Lebu. And I believe that we already have got a intra-battle in the SEZ Motorsport team further down the field. But Herrera leads from Schranz and from Matilda Parts. Then we have got a couple of Mafia Racing cars, which could very well be, well, Andreas Lebu and also Theo Borenstein. We have got a car number 20. That must have been 12. Oh no, sorry, 31. 31. That must mean that Kirill Kutskov, the earlier winner, has had a fantastic start. So let's see the proceedings at the end of the opening lap of the race. Finishing the second minute. There we go, around the final corner. There's one of the cars, and that's actually Bennett Gaspar in trouble because his rear wing is completely dislodged and he's now racing without the rear wing. This is potentially very dangerous because he's going to be quite fast along the straight. However, the downforce under braking is going to be absolutely nowhere, and I just hope that the Hungarian driver is not sent spinning. Under braking is very difficult for him. He's driving carefully, but he's only got the end plate left of his entire rear wing. This also tells you that the Formula 4 cars do not really enjoy a great downforce from the wings, which means that he hasn't also lost too much with this damage, but it is a significant damage anyway. This is the rest of his rear wing being stranded in the middle of the final corner. And for Bennett Gaspar, this means a very, very bad luck for the start of the race. He will be forced back to the pits because he will not be allowed to keep racing like that, I believe. It's definitely dangerous and also affecting the car's handling. Bennett Gaspar, fantastic race number 2, overtake the championship leader Gino Trappa right across the line at the very end of the race. However, today's race starts in a very different fashion for the Hungarian. Herrera in the lead from Mimasi. It is actually Hadi Mimasi, the car number 6, up to second. So I beg your pardon, it wasn't Simon Schranz with start from 9th. It was Hadi Mimasi finding his way up to, well, nearly top in the number 6 car. Then it is Matilda Parts in 3rd from Andreas Lebu, Borenstein in 5th from Gino Trappa, already up to 5th. And with Max Karhan 9th, actually not having the best of starts, it is now opening the championship gap back again. Well, only theoretically, of course. We are only finishing the second lap of the race. Kutskov currently 3rd, and Gaspar already entering the pit lane. He was still able to stay with the other drivers, so it seems as though he got used to it. Ooh, and we've got a defect, we've got a puncture on the car of Matilda Parts. Further bad luck for the young German driver Matilda Parts with a right rear puncture. And all of that at the beginning of the lap, which is the terriblest of places where this could happen to you, because you've got the entire 6 kilometers to drive back to the pits. And I don't think it's actually very realistic. I believe that Matilda Parts will be forced to retire her car somewhere very soon, because it will be a very, 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 very long way. And we've got the car of Hadi Mimasi missing its front wing. So further drama unraveling on the start of lap 3. These two must have been in contact. Of course, they were running for 2nd and 3rd in the race. And Matilda Parts with her head in her hands. This is such a frustration and such a tragedy, because Matilda Parts had another great start, just like earlier on today, where she moved herself up to 4th before ending her race in an incident, and now the same is happening to her. This is a heartbreak for the young German driver. She started brilliantly and was even in the fight for 2nd. Safety car is out, with her car being stranded right at the side of the track. However, this is not what she wanted and how she imagined her Sunday. But this is simply how cruel motorsport can be sometimes. Matilda Parts ending with her head in her hands, left in frustration, as she was actually already getting ahead of Hadi Mimasi in the fight for second. So theoretically, she could even start dreaming about potentially fighting for the race victory. However, that is all coming undone very quickly. And there is her car already stopped with a right rear puncture. The other car of the incident with Hadi Mimasi behind the wheel, missing its front wing. And look at that, Gino Trapper is second. The championship leader is up to second. That is absolutely incredible from P12 on the grid to find himself second after 3 laps. I mean, not only a great start, but of course also a great driving through the pack on the opening laps, through the chaos, because it is Javier Herrera leading with Gino Trapper currently being second with the fastest lap to his name of 2:05.5. Now, of course, the race being neutralized with the safety car. This should be Hadi Mimasi being sent back onto the track with a new front wing. Yes, it is. At least he'll be able to rejoin the rest of the pack on its back. At least that, and he'll be able to keep on racing. Sadly for Matilda Parts, it is already game over. And I believe that we are going to find the incident that caused the damage. At least that's what I see from other cameras that we have here and trying to get ready for you. Well, currently it is Herrera leading from Trapper, and Kirill Kutskov, winner of both races so far this weekend, currently in third. So let's see. This is the situation. Matilda Parts leaving no room for Hadi Mimasi on the outside of the finish straight. And Hadi Mimasi with nowhere to go, lost his front wing, while Matilda Parts got her right rear tyre punctured. We're gonna have to wait for another drive through the finish line. To figure out the order after the incident. Safety car is coming back into the pits, so we're gonna go racing again with Herrera leading from Trapper. There they are already coming back on pace. And Javier Herrera immediately coming under pressure. Great restart by Gino Trapper, who is already putting his teammate under huge pressure and attacking him into the first corner. So it is Herrera on the inside, Trapper on the outside. He'll attempt for a switchback. Max Karhan immediately pouncing as well, overtaking Andreas Lebu for 5th. He knows that he has to keep moving forward. And there he goes up to 5th. Further two Mafia Racing cars right in front of him. That will be Borenstein and Kutskov. David Gorčica from last on the grid, currently 10th, with František Němec up to 9th. Also, great races from these two. Contact! Oh, and that is a bad luck. Who was that? It was definitely one of the Enza cars. This is car number 18 of Andreas Lebu. And was it actually Trapper being hit from behind? Was it? What happened there now in the third corner? Or was it Karhan? Because we have got Herrera still leading. This is the Enza car. Oh no, it was car number 23. It was actually Nicolas Cortes once again in trouble this weekend. I was a little bit misled and mistaken because Nicolas Cortés, I couldn't really believe it. He also got, again, from 18th on the grid, really high way up, just like in race number 2 earlier on today, but actually, again, ending up in an incident. So Cortés it is, car number 23, sent spinning by one of the Mafia Racing cars. So we still have Herrera leading from Trapper, Kutzkov 3rd, Borenstein 4th, and Max Karhan in 5th. This is František Němec. This time under pressure from Schranz, whom he'd already overtaken for 8th. Behind them in Janík livery, it is David Gorčica. So there we go. Herrera from Trapper, Kutzkov, Borenstein, Karhan 5th. Němec up to 6th. Fantastic stuff from the Czech driver, but around the outside goes Simon Schranz to take that position off his hands, and he has been successful in that. David Gorčica also trying to get something for himself. Then it is Nicole Havrda. No, it isn't. Sorry, I beg your pardon. That's already Hadi Mimasi. There is Havrda in the all-black car behind Dirvet. And another fight for Max Karhan, but he is now trying to move himself up the order ahead of Borenstein around the outside. Great racing so far, really eventful race. We don't really even know where to watch first. Further trouble for someone, and that will be again Hadi Mimasi. Car number 6 off the track. Falling down the order yet again in this race. But there's your top 5. Max Karhan really worked his way up to 4th, ahead of Borenstein. This is the car number 6. Launching an attack. It's really difficult to differentiate from the cars number 6 and 9. From the distance, their numbers look very similar. But it is now Simon Schranz attacking František Němec again and coming back out on top. However, outbraking himself, allowing František Němec back through down the inside. They will be side by side alongside each other on the pit straight again, with just under 11 minutes remaining on the clock. And look at that slipstreaming. David Gorčica getting himself in the mix. Careful. Both drivers finding each other in a blind spot, probably unsighted. And they are now slotting behind one another. Němec ahead of Gorčica. Then it is Nicole Havrda. But it was, I beg your pardon, it was Simon Schranz in trouble, not Hadi Mimasi. Hadi Mimasi is actually up to 6 now, just like his racing number. So I did really mistake the number 6 and 9, and this should be a change for the race lead. Gino Trapper into the lead, ahead of Javier Herrera, who very nearly went off the track. His car was sent sideways, but he corrected that and stayed in the correct direction. Which Jenzer car is now ahead? It should be Gino Trapper. Just as Max Karhan is trying to put pressure on the earlier winner, Kirill Kutzkov. Karhan knows that he has to go through the field very quickly. It is indeed Gino Trapper leading from 12th on the grid. Fantastic stuff from the young Argentine. Gino Trapper leading ahead of Javier Herrera. Karhan trying to get himself ahead of Kutzkov to join the Jenzer Motorsport battle for the race lead. This is shaping up to be an amazing race finale here in Slovakia. Then the rest of the pack already distant, in a distance behind. It is Mimasi in 6th for now, Němec in 7th, Gorčica 8th, Havrda 9th, and Dirvet in P10. 8 minutes left. It is Gino Trappa in the lead by nearly a full second from Javier Herrera. This is Michalina Sabai trying to make her way into the top 10. Trying to trouble Nikolaj Dirvet. Sabai having another look, Dirvet leaving the door wide open, which brings the cars alongside each other, but the next corner benefits the Mafia Racing car, which stays ahead. Still fights here and there, and Max Karhan really close behind third-placed Kutskov. Dirvet staying ahead of Michalina Sabai. But I would rather be interested in the fight for third now. Kutskov not really managing the same sort of pace that he had earlier on today. Now not enjoying the tire advantage that he had in the morning. Sabai on the move. Around the outside, who will be braver under braking? A switchback from Sabai to come up with something on the exit. Slipstream it is once again. Dirvet going defensive. Karhan was less than 0.4 of a second behind Kutskov across the line, so fight for third must also be raging on. We would like to see that with 6 minutes left on the clock. Dirvet again going defensive from Michalina Sabai, and this is a potential for Stefan Treneski in the other Křenek Motorsport car. They are still side by side, next to one another. Ooh, but Dirvet outbrakes himself. And that means that the door for Michalina Sabai remains wide open, and she's trying to use that. Also, Stefan Treneski looking for his chance to maybe overtake both into the left-hander. But they're all going hard under braking. Dirvet again leaving the door open with late braking. But again using the next corner to his advantage. Great defense from Dirvet. It's almost going beyond the edge where you start thinking, okay, that's it, that's done for him. But then he somehow manages to save it again. And around the final corner we go. Michalina Sabai around the outside, finding grip. Will she be able to stay there? Yes, she does. And ahead of Dirvet she goes with a brilliant move around the outside. That was nice, that was beautiful. But now all three cars slipstreaming past one another down the pit straight. This is František Němec from Nicole Havrda, and there we go, a three-way fight. But this is Max Karhan for third. Max Karhan for third, overtaking the earlier winner Kirill Kutskov in the sweeping right-hander of turn number 3. But coming again under pressure. We know that there's grip around the outside. We've seen already a couple of overtakes there, but Karhan trying to make a wider exit, which he does. And he's trying to cut off the Mafia Racing opponent. But his teammates, in the meantime, disappearing. Karhan using the inside line, going really defensive. The car's twitching like crazy as he's really now trying to squeeze the last pieces of grip that there are in the tires. They've already been through a lot this weekend, but Karhan somehow stays third. This is going to be an interesting battle. I don't really think that he'll be able to think about going further on in the field and troubling his teammates. but he has a lot to do with Kirill Kutskov, who is definitely not giving up, and he comes back ahead into third. Less than 3 minutes left on the clock. This is still very much exciting for third, for the remaining spot on the podium. Kirill Kutskov for the trophy, Max Karhan for the championship. And he's now switching back onto the inside. And they will go slipstreaming down the pit straight yet again. Karhan is really close indeed. He won't be able to stay behind Kutskov very long. He has to go next to him. Now he's finding great top speed, but however has to choose the outside line. So Kutskov can go defensive, but Max Karhan with the longer route around the outside will be pushed out. Yes, he is, but jumps back onto the track. They are still side by side. This is very exciting and really unnerving to watch, but Kutskov comes ahead now. What a great battle between these two. Fantastic stuff. Karhan launches another attack, again around the outside. Even in turn 3, we've seen that happen earlier on. Deep braking for both. Kutskov still staying just about ahead, but Karhan somehow sticking his nose there. And they are now alongside each other yet again. And into the sweeping right-hander, there isn't much grip. Karhan trying it again, nevertheless. How are they still staying next to one another? I have no idea. Amazing stuff towards the end of the final race of Formula 4 this afternoon. And Theo Borenstein also joining the party. Brilliant stuff to top the weekend of the Central European Formula 4. This is Formula 4 racing at its absolute best. Max Karhan in the middle of it, seeing white and yellow front and back. Being a Yenza meat in a muffy sandwich. And there they go across the line. This is the final lap of the race. Gino Trapper, the championship leader, he has already seen enough of points run away from him this weekend. So today, he's going for it. But Max Karhan around the outside. Was there even a touch? Maybe. Ooh, that's really close. Karhan again off the track, across the curb, but back, and he's third now. He snatched third from Kirill Kutskov. Kutskov trying it again, this time around the outside. The time is up. This is the final lap of the race. Max Karhan will have to go defensive really hard. And for Kirill Kutskov, another opportunity into the third corner. Let's see where we are. We've lost them for a little bit. This is the race leader, Gino Trapper, already getting ahead and driving away, pulling away from Javier Herrera. But what happens in the fight for third now? This is what we're interested in. We still have plenty of corners into the finish. We do not need to watch Gino Trapper just yet. We still have time. Let's switch back to the fight for third now. We're very much interested in what happens there. There they are, Max Karhan still staying ahead, and it actually starts to look like Kirill Kutskov is out of breath in this fight, and he is nowhere near Karhan for another move, maybe into the last corner, but he'll have to nail these corners, which he doesn't really. He stays behind, and another chance might not even present itself. Let's go back to the race lead now, because Gino Trapper is already making his way back onto the finish straight. Gino Trapper, he has already lost a lot of points this weekend, but today from 12th on the grid, he's gonna do it. And he wins the race for full 25 points to help his championship situation massively, with Javier Herrera coming across the line in second. Max Karhan snatching third on the final lap from the hands of Kirill Kutskov. Kirill Kutskov won both races so far this weekend, but but out of the final one, he comes empty-handed in terms of trophies. He will be fourth, just under the podium. Theo Borenstein in fifth, from Hadi Mimasi in sixth. David Gorčica from last on the grid scores seventh. Fantastic stuff from the Křenek Motorsport guy. František Němec also a nice race, finishing in eighth, from Nikol Havrda in ninth and Nikolaj Dirvet in 10th. Behind them, Nicolas Cortes, Michalina Sabaj, Stefan Trenesky, Igor Polák, and the pole sitter Andreas Lebu finishing only 15th on the road. But what a race this was. Unbelievable stuff. Ooh. Javier Herrera locking up on the, let's say, reconnaissance lap, or the lap through which you are going back to the pits. A bit unnecessary. They should rather be collecting weight on their tires. That was the final race of Formula 4 Central European Zone for the penultimate weekend of the championship. The championship, the title fight has not been decided yet, but if my calculations are right, then the gap between the championship leader Gino Trappa and the second placed Max Karhan must be at 35 points right now. And with 3 races still to go, each for 25 points, the championship fight still remains rather open. Gino Trappa has seen a lot of his gap disappearing. Then he made amends for it in the last race of the weekend here with a victory from all the way down in 12th. Max Karhan coming home in 3rd. That's a 10-point difference between them for this race, as you also see in the graphics. But we still have 3 more races to go in a couple of weeks' time in Brno, and I believe that that should be a brilliant season finale, also with a new track surface at the Masaryk Racing Circuit. I believe that that's going to be an absolutely fascinating one. But for now, and we will still be back with one more race of Renault Twingo in about an hour, but for now it is a very warm goodbye.
The green flag is now in the air, signalling that everything is ready for the starting procedure to begin. He surprised everybody and he goes into the race lead. Fantastic start. So, there's a big crash. Around the outside, and he takes the second place.
Fog is már, most még nem fogok feltartani.